The metallic hum of the Endeavor reverberated through the small quarters as I stood before my crew. My heart raced with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The vastness of space had always been a source of wonder for me, but now we were on the brink of uncovering something extraordinary, a mystery hidden on Zeta Prime. I straightened my uniform and cleared my throat, feeling the weight of responsibility resting on my shoulders. "Listen up, team," I said, my voice steady despite the fluttering in my stomach. "We've come a long way, and what we've detected from orbit are not just geological formations. Those are pyramids, massive structures emitting energy readings we've never seen before. Our mission is to investigate them and report back our findings." Dr. Emily Carter, our brilliant scientist with an insatiable curiosity, leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. "Captain, the potential for discovery is incredible. Just imagine what those pyramids could reveal about the civilization that built them. We could redefine our understanding of history." "Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Emily," interjected Dr. Sarah Thompson, the biologist of our group, her brow furrowed with skepticism. "We don't even know what we're dealing with. Those energy readings could mean danger. We should approach with caution." I nodded, appreciating Sarah's pragmatism, but the thrill of exploration pulsed through my veins. Caution is important, but we're explorers. We're here to uncover the unknown. We'll set up a base camp and conduct our first explorations. I want everyone ready to disembark in 30 minutes. As the crew buzzed with excitement, I stepped away, glancing out the viewport at the distant blue glow of Zeta Prime below us. It was breathtaking, a world untouched, waiting to unveil its secrets. I couldn't shake the feeling that our journey was more than just scientific inquiry. It felt like destiny. Moments later, the Endeavor glided down to the surface, kicking up dust as we landed. The hatch opened with a hiss, and the cool alien air rushed in, carrying with it the scent of earthiness mixed with something electric. I led the team outside, and my breath caught in my throat. Towering before us were the pyramids, their sheer size dwarfing us. They pulsed with a strange blue energy that illuminated the surrounding landscape, casting eerie shadows. "Wow!" Emily exclaimed, her voice echoing in the stillness. "Look at that! It's magnificent!" "Magnificent or not, we need to set up camp," I reminded them, snapping back to the task at hand. "Alex, can you get the equipment unloaded?" "On it, Captain." Alex Rodriguez, our tech-savvy engineer, replied enthusiastically, already moving towards the cargo hold. "I've been waiting to see what these readings are all about." As we set up our equipment, I couldn't help but steal glances at the pyramids. There was something almost alive about them, like they were watching us. I shook off the feeling and focused on our gear. "Hey, Captain," Alex said, his voice tinged with excitement, "I'm picking up some strange readings from the pyramids. The energy levels are fluctuating. It's unlike anything we've encountered before." "Strange how?" I asked, turning to face him, my heart racing again. "Like, it's unstable. We need to be careful. If it spikes, it could be dangerous," he warned, his brow furrowed with concern. "See? That's exactly what I'm talking about," Sarah said, crossing her arms. "We're stepping into the unknown without a solid understanding of what we're dealing with. This could be a mistake." "Look," I said, trying to maintain the team's morale, "we're here to explore and learn. We've trained for this, and we won't know anything until we investigate further. Let's take proper precautions, but we can't let fear hold us back." Emily stepped closer, her enthusiasm undeterred. "We've come too far to turn back now. This is our chance to make history." "Agreed," I said, rallying my team. "Let's move forward, but stay vigilant. We'll gather data, take readings, and see what these structures can tell us. Remember, knowledge is our greatest ally." As we prepared to venture closer to the pyramids, the air shimmered with anticipation. Each of us carried our hopes and fears, not fully aware of the challenges that lay ahead. But one thing was certain: we were about to embark on a journey that would change everything we thought we knew about humanity and the universe. With a final glance at the pyramids, I led my team into the unknown, aware that we stood on the precipice of discovery, and perhaps disaster. As we stepped into the vast chamber of the largest pyramid, the air grew thick with anticipation and something else, an electric pulse that seemed to thrum in time with my heartbeat. The walls were adorned with intricate hieroglyphs, glowing faintly in shades of blue and green. I could feel the weight of history pressing down on us, as if the very stones were whispering secrets from a civilization long lost. Can you believe this? Dr. Emily Carter exclaimed, her voice echoing slightly in the expansive space. She had her tablet out, capturing images of the glyphs. This is incredible. The technology here could redefine our understanding of energy. I nodded, but my mind was racing. What kind of civilization had created this? And why had they vanished? Emily, look at the way these symbols are arranged, I said, pointing to a series of glyphs that seemed to represent a cycle: creation, sustenance, and destruction. It almost looks like a warning. Or a story, Alex Rodriguez chimed in, his eyes darting across the walls as he scanned for any signs of malfunctioning technology. Maybe they were trying to record their own downfall. Dr. Sarah Thompson stood a few paces behind us, arms crossed, her skeptical demeanor palpable. Or it could be an elaborate hoax. We're on an alien planet, after all. We should tread carefully. Emily waved her hand dismissively. Skepticism is good, Sarah, but we need to keep an open mind. This civilization clearly had advanced understanding of energy. What if they were trying to communicate something important? I stepped further into the chamber, feeling a sudden rush of warmth wash over me as I crossed an invisible threshold. The room lit up, the hieroglyphs pulsing in rhythm with a low hum that vibrated through my body. I glanced back at my team, excitement flickering in their eyes. Look! Emily shouted, pointing to a central pedestal that had illuminated as I approached. It was a perfect circle, smooth and polished, with a crystalline structure rising from its center. The energy emanating from it was palpable, making the hair on my arms stand on end. This could be a power source, Alex said, leaning closer. If we can figure out how it works, we might be able to harness it. Or it could be a trap, Sarah interjected, her tone serious. We don't know what kind of dangers are embedded in this technology. We need to be extremely cautious. Ignoring her warning, Emily stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder. What if it's a form of ancient communication? Maybe they left a message for us. She reached out to touch the crystalline structure, and I felt a jolt of electricity race through the air. Suddenly, the chamber trembled, a low rumble echoing around us. The glyphs began to flicker, and the pedestal radiated an intense light. What is happening? I shouted, instinctively moving closer to Emily. I think it's responding to us, she exclaimed, her excitement overshadowing the growing unease in my gut. Before I could voice my concern, the walls of the chamber began to shift, revealing more hieroglyphs hidden in the shadows. As they came into view, I felt a chill run down my spine. These symbols depicted scenes of a once thriving civilization, their people celebrating beneath a radiant sun, until the energy source turned dark and chaos ensued. I could barely catch my breath as I began to piece together their fate. They were thriving, but something went wrong, I whispered, my voice barely rising above the ominous hum. They must have pushed their technology too far. That's it, Emily said, her eyes wide. This is a record of their rise and fall. We need to decode it. But just as she spoke, an alarm blared throughout the chamber, a cacophony that shattered the weight of our discovery. Red lights began to flash, and the ground shook violently beneath our feet. Get back! Sarah shouted, her instincts kicking in as she grabbed my arm, pulling me away from the pedestal. This is exactly what I was afraid of. I stumbled as the vibrations intensified, sending a cascade of dust and debris tumbling from above. The walls seemed to close in on us, and panic surged through my veins. We need to evacuate, I yelled, my voice barely audible over the chaos. Now! Alex shouted, and we scrambled toward the exit, the pyramid threatening to collapse around us. As I ran, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had awakened something we were never meant to disturb. The weight of our discovery pressed heavily on my heart, and I couldn't help but wonder if we were doomed to repeat the mistakes of those who had come before us. As we huddled around the makeshift table at our camp, the glowing holographic projections of the pyramids still danced in my mind. I could feel the eerie energy pulsing beneath the surface of Zeta Prime, a constant reminder of the power we were trying to harness. Dr. Emily Carter was animated as she reviewed our findings, her eyes bright with excitement. I can't believe it. We have a chance to unlock technology that could change everything for Earth, she exclaimed, her voice tinged with both exhilaration and urgency. Alex Rodriguez nodded in agreement, his fingers flying over the console as he pulled up energy readings. If we can stabilize this energy, we could power entire cities, maybe even eliminate the need for fossil fuels, he added, his enthusiasm infectious. I wanted to share in their excitement, but a nagging fear clawed at my insides. But at what cost? We don't know what happened to the civilization that built these pyramids, I interjected, my skepticism surfacing like an unwelcome guest. Emily turned to me, her expression a mix of frustration and determination. Sarah, we can't let fear hold us back. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. We owe it to ourselves, and to humanity, to explore this. I could see the fire in her eyes, the relentless ambition that had driven her to become one of the leading scientists in our field. Yet, that same ambition made me uneasy. And what if we're wrong? I shot back, trying to rein in the panic rising in my chest. What if we're just repeating history? Alex sighed, glancing between us. Let's not lose sight of the bigger picture here. We need to gather more data before making any decisions. We can't let this slip through our fingers. As he spoke, I could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes, but he quickly masked it with a confident smile. Let's stabilize the energy first. We can proceed with caution. As we set to work, the air around us seemed to thrum with a tension I couldn't shake. The equipment hummed softly, but with every pulse, I felt a deeper unease settling over me. I tried to focus, but the visions began to creep in, images flashing behind my eyelids. I saw the ancient civilization in their final moments. Chaos, destruction, people running, screaming. I gasped, clutching my head as the waves of horror washed over me. Sarah, are you allrecht? Emily's voice broke through the fog, her brow furrowed with concern. You look pale. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the images that clung to me like shadows. I just had a vision. The civilization, there was something catastrophic. We have to be careful, I warned, my voice trembling. Alex shot me a skeptical look. It's probably just the stress of the mission. We're all feeling it, he said dismissively, but Emily's expression softened. Maybe we should take a break, she suggested gently. We can regroup, gather our thoughts. We don't want to make any rash decisions. I was grateful for her understanding, but the sense of foreboding lingered. We decided to take a moment, stepping outside the tent to breathe the alien air. The sky above us was an endless expanse of deep purple, dotted with stars that felt so far away, yet so achingly close. I closed my eyes, trying to center myself. What if we're not meant to understand this power? I whispered, more to myself than to them. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unsaid fears and doubts. Emily finally broke it, her voice low and serious. Then we need to learn from it. If we understand what led to their downfall, we can prevent it from happening again. I could hear the resolve in her tone, and for a moment, I admired her courage. But we have to be smart about it, I added, my heart racing again. Returning to our equipment, we prepped for the next stage of our investigation. As I worked alongside Alex, I caught his eye, and for a fleeting moment, we both acknowledged the weight of what lay ahead. I felt a growing dread, a gut instinct that something was dangerously amiss. As we began to stabilize the energy, I felt a sudden jolt, as though the ground beneath us trembled with anticipation. I glanced at Emily and Alex, their faces lit by the glow of our machinery. In that moment, I realized that despite our caution, we were careening toward the very edge of an abyss, and I feared we would not be able to pull back in time. My heart pounded as I prepared for the unknown, a sense of urgency enveloping me as we pushed forward into the chaos of discovery. The air inside the pyramid was thick with tension as we stood in the main chamber, the walls pulsating with an eerie blue glow. I could almost feel the energy thrumming through my veins, a seductive call that both terrified and exhilarated me. Dr. Emily Carter was practically vibrating with excitement, her eyes wide as she traced the hieroglyphs with her fingers. "Look at this, James," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm palpable. This could be the key to understanding their entire civilization. I glanced at Alex Rodriguez, who was typing furiously on his tablet, trying to decipher the symbols. "We need to be careful, Emily. This energy isn't stable. It could be dangerous," I warned, my voice low but firm. "Dangerous is just another word for exciting, Captain," she shot back, a grin breaking across her face. "We're on the brink of something monumental." Dr. Sarah Thompson, who had been quietly observing, finally interjected. "Monumental or catastrophic. We've seen the warnings in the holographs. This energy was their downfall. We need to tread lightly." I could feel the friction between the three of us simmering beneath the surface. Emily and Alex were burning with ambition, while Sarah's skepticism felt like the cold wind sweeping through the chamber. "We need to split up," I proposed, trying to diffuse the tension. "Sarah, you can focus on the biological aspects of this energy, while Emily and Alex continue decoding these hieroglyphs. Let's gather as much data as possible and reconvene." Emily nodded eagerly. "That's a great idea, James. We can cover more ground that way." Sarah crossed her arms, her expression skeptical. "I don't like this. We're venturing into the unknown, and it feels reckless. We don't know what this energy can truly do to us." "Which is why we need to understand it, Sarah," I replied, trying to reassure her. "We can't let fear dictate our actions." With that, we split up, each of us drifting into our own tasks. As I made my way deeper into the pyramid with Emily and Alex, I couldn't shake the unease settling in the pit of my stomach. I watched as they became engrossed in their work, their excitement radiating off them like heat from a fire. Meanwhile, Sarah ventured off to examine the remnants of the ancient life forms in the adjoining chamber. I could see her pace quickening, her brow furrowed with concentration. I hoped she would find something that could shed light on the risks we were facing, but a part of me feared she might stumble upon something we would rather remain buried in the sands of Zeta Prime. "James, look at this," Emily called out, her voice echoing in the chamber. She pointed to a series of symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. "This could be some sort of energy map. If we can decode it, we might pinpoint where the energy is strongest." As Alex leaned in closer, I caught a glimpse of excitement in his eyes. "This is incredible, Emily. If we can harness this." Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine. I thought of Sarah alone, surrounded by the remnants of a civilization that had met its end. "We should check in on Sarah," I said, my voice edged with concern. "Just a few more minutes, James," Emily urged, her focus unwavering. "We're so close." I glanced at Alex, who seemed caught between his loyalty to Emily and his growing unease. "We can't ignore her instincts," I insisted. "Let's go find her." Reluctantly, Emily agreed, and we made our way toward the chamber where Sarah had been working. As we approached, I noticed that the atmosphere felt heavier, charged with a kind of tension that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. "Sarah," I called out, my voice echoing eerily. There was no response. Panic gripped me as I stepped into the chamber, and the sight that met my eyes left me breathless. The walls were lined with skeletal remains, remnants of ancient life forms that had once thrived in the energy's embrace. Sarah was hunched over a particularly large skeleton, her face pale as she examined the bones. "Sarah," I exclaimed, rushing to her side. "What did you find?" She looked up, her eyes wide with horror. "They didn't just perish. They were consumed by the energy, James. It's as if it was a parasite, feeding off their life force." A knot formed in my stomach as her words echoed in my mind. "We're not just explorers. We're intruders," I murmured. "We're meddling with forces we don't understand." Emily stepped forward, her excitement fading into concern. "We can't let fear stop us from learning. But we need to be cautious." Just then, a low rumble shook the ground beneath us, and I felt the walls of the chamber tremble. "We need to get out of here now," I shouted, urging them to move. As we hurried back toward the main chamber, my mind raced. The energy levels were rising, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of something catastrophic. We had come to unlock the secrets of Zeta Prime, but I feared we might be unlocking a Pandora's box instead. As I hurried through the dimly lit corridors of the pyramid, my heart raced with a blend of fear and urgency. I had to reach Dr. Carter and Alex before it was too late. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the ground trembling beneath my feet, echoing the uncertainty that gripped my mind. I burst into the chamber where they were gathered, their expressions a mix of excitement and reckless ambition. "Emily! Alex!" I shouted, my voice barely rising above the ominous rumble of the pyramid. "You have to stop. The energy levels are off the charts. It's too unstable." Dr. Carter, her eyes gleaming with a fervor I had never seen before, turned to me dismissively. "Sarah, we're on the verge of a breakthrough. This energy could change everything for humanity. We can't just walk away from it now." I shook my head vehemently, stepping closer to the glowing core that pulsed with an otherworldly light. "You don't understand. This civilization, they harnessed this energy, and look where it led them. They're gone, Emily. We're standing on the precipice of their destruction. Alex, usually the voice of reason, seemed caught in Dr. Carter's fervor. We need to set up the device to draw power from the core. We can stabilize it, right? We just have to be careful. The determination in his voice was palpable, but I could sense the underlying fear. No, Alex. This isn't just about us anymore. We're meddling with forces we don't fully comprehend, I pleaded, desperation creeping into my tone. You saw the visions, the chaos, the ruin. We're risking everything. But my words fell on deaf ears. Dr. Carter was already configuring the device, her hands moving with a mix of precision and urgency. We can control it, Sarah. We have to believe that we can harness this power responsibly. As she spoke, I felt a chill run down my spine. The walls around us seemed to pulse in rhythm with the core's energy, the very air vibrating with an unsettling intensity. Emily, please. I urged, my voice rising. This isn't just an experiment anymore, it's a gamble with our lives. Ignoring my warnings, Dr. Carter activated the device. The core erupted in a blinding light that swallowed the chamber, and I shielded my eyes with an arm. A surge of energy shot through the room, and the ground shook violently beneath us. Hold on. Alex shouted, gripping the edge of one of the consoles as the pyramid shuddered. The structure was protesting, groaning like a living entity in pain. I stumbled, struggling to maintain my footing. Then it happened. The energy spiraled out of control, swirling chaotically as the pyramid trembled around us. The device sparked and fizzled, and alarms blared, drowning out our voices. We have to get out of here. I yelled, panic rising in my throat. Dr. Carter's eyes widened in horror as she realized the magnitude of what we had unleashed. What have we done? She whispered, the color draining from her face. The walls began to crack, dust raining down in thick clouds. I felt the ground shift beneath me, and a deep rumble echoed through the chamber, louder than any sound I had ever heard. Run. Now. I screamed, and without waiting for a response, I dashed toward the exit. Sarah, wait. I heard Alex call out, but the urgency in my bones pushed me forward. I could feel the structure collapsing behind us, the very fabric of the pyramid unraveling as we fled. We raced through the corridors, the tremors growing more violent with every step. I could hear the sounds of stone grinding against stone, the very essence of the pyramid screaming in protest. As we neared the entrance, I glanced back, my heart pounding as I saw a massive section of the ceiling give way, dust and debris cascading like a torrential rain. Come on. I shouted, urging Alex and Dr. Carter to follow me. The exit was just ahead, but the ground was shaking so violently I feared it would swallow us whole. In that moment, I realized the gravity of our mistake. We had been so consumed by our quest for knowledge that we had ignored the warnings, both from the past and from each other. Now, as the pyramid crumbled around us, I felt the weight of our ambition crashing down like the stones above. And in that chaos, I understood with gut-wrenching clarity that our insatiable desire for understanding had unleashed a force we could never hope to control. The chaos of the collapsing pyramid enveloped us like a storm. I stumbled through the crumbling corridors, my heart racing, each tremor beneath my feet a reminder of the urgency of our escape. All around me, walls that had stood for millennia now cracked and groaned, their ancient stones finally succumbing to the violent energy we had awakened. James. Emily. I shouted, my voice swallowed by the cacophony of destruction. My pulse echoed in my ears, adrenaline coursed through my veins. I turned the corner, desperate to find my teammates, but the passageways twisted and morphed with each quake, a labyrinth of despair. I could feel the energy pulsating, almost alive, as if the very structure of the pyramid was aware of our intrusion and retaliation. Alex, over here. I heard Emily's voice call out, and my heart leaped. I sprinted toward her, maneuvering through the debris that tumbled around us. Is everyone okay? She gasped, her face pale and smeared with dust. I don't know. I can't find Sarah. I replied, panic creeping into my voice. Just then, a deafening roar echoed from above, and I instinctively ducked as a massive stone block crashed to the ground where we had just stood. We need to move now. Emily insisted, and I nodded, feeling the weight of dread settle heavily in my gut. We stumbled through the chaos, the energy levels fluctuating wildly, warping our surroundings. I could feel a pull, a magnetic force that threatened to tear us apart. We have to find Sarah. I urged, But Emily shook her head, her eyes glistening with fear and determination. Alex, we can't waste any more time. If we don't get out of here. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught my eye. Sarah! I shouted, spotting her at the end of the corridor, frantically waving us over. Relief surged through me, but it was short-lived. The pyramid groaned ominously, a sound that seemed to resonate from the depths of the universe itself. Come on, Sarah! Emily yelled, her voice breaking with urgency. But just as we began to rush toward her, the ground beneath us trembled violently again. A series of cracks snaked across the floor, and without warning, a massive section of the ceiling began to collapse. Get back! Sarah screamed, pushing Alex to the side just as the debris fell. Time slowed as I watched in horror, helpless. Go! Now! She shouted at us, her eyes fierce and resolute. Sarah, no! I cried, panic clawing at my throat, but it was too late. The weight of the stones descended, enveloping her in a cloud of dust and chaos. No! Emily screamed, but I felt her grip on my arm tighten, pulling me away. We have to go. We can't help her. The energy surged again, and I felt a rift open in the air, a swirling vortex that beckoned with an insatiable hunger. I turned back one last time, my heart racing, but all I could see was the destruction swallowing my friend whole. With a final push, Emily and I broke free from the collapsing structure, tumbling out into the open air just as the pyramid erupted behind us. A blinding light washed over Zeta Prime, and the ground shook violently, sending shockwaves that rippled across the surface. We lay on the ground, breathless and stunned, watching as the pyramids exploded in a cataclysmic display of power. The sky lit up with colors I had never seen before, a surreal blend of blues and purples, as if the universe itself was mourning our loss. Sarah, I whispered, the weight of grief crashing down on me. Tears streamed down my face, mixing with the dust that coated my skin. I turned to Emily, who was equally pale, staring into the distance, lost in her own sorrow. We did this, she said softly, her voice cracking. We wanted to understand, but we unleashed something we couldn't control, I finished for her, the bitter truth settling in like a heavy stone in my chest. The quest for knowledge had cost us everything, and in our ambition, we had sacrificed a friend. As we watched the destruction unfold, the realization settled heavily upon us. Our insatiable curiosity had led us to this moment, a moment where we had not only lost Sarah but also a piece of our own humanity. The light from the explosion illuminated our faces, but it could never erase the darkness that had taken hold of our hearts.